Good evening, YouTube. Good evening, YouTube. It's your guy, J. Crew to you, coming at you yet with another video here on this evening, September 9th, 2021. Recently came across a story that made me want to get back on the horn here and really express my views on a story that's not really shocking, but yet tragic and somewhat laughable, because it speaks to a lot of different societal ills that go on in this world. When I initially came across the story, I was kind of disappointed. I was just late hearing about it. This story actually became known in the Baltimore, Maryland area in late February, early March of this year. Matter of fact, this news station produced this story in early March. And it was in response to a very, very unfortunate academic situation that came about at this school in Baltimore, Maryland. This young man, it was regarding a young man who was in high school and who had a rude awakening thrown into his lap when he thought he was about to get ready to graduate from this school. I'm going to play this video, then I'm going to get my commentary on it once it wraps up. And I'm just going ahead and say, a lot of y'all probably going to be scratching your heads, laughing, and probably needing maybe a minute or so to recover from what you just saw. I'm going to go ahead and play the video right now.
The students are failing.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, we found a student who's passed 3 classes in 4 years and is ranked near the top half of his class.
We're not letting none of this get the best of us. All right? Be strong, son. We got this.
He's stressed, and I am too. Like, I told him I probably will start crying. Like, my son is, I don't know what to do for him.
This coming June is when Tiffany France thought her son would receive his diploma.
And I'm just trying to fight. He like, Mom, what was all this for? What did I do this for? Like, don't he get a chance? Do he get a chance?
But after 4 years of high school, this mom just learned her 17-year-old has to start over. He's been moved back to 9th grade.
Why would he do 3 more years in school? He didn't fail. The school failed him. The school failed at their job. They failed. They failed. That's the problem here. They failed. They failed. He didn't deserve that.
France's son attends Augusta Savage Institute of Visual Arts in West Baltimore. His transcripts show in 4 years, he has passed just 3 classes, earning 2.5 credits, which places him in 9th grade. But France says she didn't know that until February. She has 3 children and works 3 jobs. She thought her oldest son was doing well because even though he failed most of his classes, he was being promoted. His transcripts show he failed Spanish 1 and Algebra 1, but was promoted to Spanish 2 and Algebra 2. He also failed English 2, but was passed on to English 3.
I'm just assuming that if you are passing, that you have the proper things, to go to the next grade. And, the right grades, you have the right credits.
As we dig deeper into her son's records, we can see in his first 3 years at Augusta Fells, he failed 22 classes and was late or absent 272 times. But in those 3 years, only 1 teacher requested a parent conference, which France says never happened. No one from the school told this mother her son was failing and not going to class.
Yeah.
France's son, in his 4 years at Augusta Fells, earned a grade point average of 0.13. He only passed 3 classes, but his transcripts show his class rank is 62 out of 120. This means nearly half of his classmates, 58 of them, have a GPA of 0.13 or lower.
He's a good kid. Like, he didn't deserve that. Where is the mentors? Where is the help for him? I hate that this is happening to my child.
In your opinion, did the school system fail this child?
Absolutely.
This city school administrator who works inside North Avenue asked not to be identified for fear of retaliation.
That school community failed this student.
This administrator told Fox 45 News city schools failed because it has protocols and interventions set up to help students who are falling behind or have low attendance. In France's son's case, they didn't happen.
I get angry. There's nothing but frustration. We see on the news the crime that occurs, the murders, the shootings. We know that there are high levels of poverty in Baltimore. Things like this are adding to that.
These children are why I do this work.
Dr. Sonia Santelises was school CEO 4 years ago when France's son was a freshman, but she will not interview with Fox 45 News. Instead, we received this 2-page statement, which explains what should happen when a student is chronically absent or failing. The district says students received a letter about their academic status this past summer, and records can be accessed through the campus portal. When a student is absent, an automated call is placed to the number on file. The statement also said the school conducted recent home visits and the student's parent visited the school. But France says none of that happened. What this statement does not address is why France's son was promoted despite failing classes. It doesn't discuss his class rank or the 58 other students with a GPA of 0.13 or lower. But it does say North Avenue is reviewing actions that impacted student outcomes at the school prior to this year.
It took a lot for me to just build the courage to do this.
If you were to talk to this mom, what would you say to her?
You know, I didn't have a hand on this student, but I work for city schools, so he is one of my kids. I would hug her and I would apologize profusely.
And he feels embarrassed, he feels like a failure. And I'm like, you can't feel like that. And you have to be strong. And you gotta keep fighting. You know, life is about fighting. Things happen, but you gotta keep fighting. And he's willing. He's trying. But who would he turn to when the people that's supposed to help him is not? Who do he turn to?
France has pulled her son out of Augusta Fells. He is now enrolled in an accelerated school program at another high school in West Baltimore. She is told if he works hard, he could graduate by 2023. And if you would like to read City School's entire 2-page statement, we have posted it on our website, foxbaltimore.com. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
This past 3.
I'm going to let this sink in for a minute. Okay, now that I've given you just, a little bit to sort of allow that epic failure to sink in, I got a question that I want to pose to my audience out here. Who failed in this scenario? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody failed in this scenario. Everybody failed. And I'm going to touch on each one of those elements of failure in this video. I'm going to start off by talking about the young man, which is where the failure starts. Then I'm going to go touch on this unfortunately ignorant mother, which is where it continues. And then I'm going to kind of get into the school system, which is where it's far more pervasive. With this young man, let me say this. If you're a student in school, whether you going to school or not, you know how you doing in school. You know how you're progressing in school. You know whether you're doing your work or not. And even when you do your work, you know what kind of grades you get, because you receive your grades either in class or electronically at the end of each test or each semester. You'll also receive progress reports throughout the semester. With this young man, I would say this. With him, you get out of it, sir, what you put in. You chose not to put in much effort at all, at least in your first 3 years of school, which was highlighted in this report, and you didn't get nothing out of it. He just accepted the fact that, okay, I'm being passed along, but even though I'm failing, nothing must be wrong. To me, it shows a frightening lack of intelligence and a lack of effort on the part of this young man. If you don't care about you, I can't care about you. Your common sense will tell you as a person, if you care, I need to go get some help. Or I either need to, talk to my mother about changing classes in terms of getting a different instructor to teach me, or perhaps changing schools. If you're having that much of a problem in school, I don't know whether they touched on or not, whether he had a learning disability or not, but if he doesn't have that, then this story is it just makes me laugh more than anything, because the egg is on his face. I'm going to go touch on some of those stats that they kind of talked about with his personal situation. Miss Tiffany France, who's the mother of this unfortunate person, has found it the hard way. Her son just didn't give a crap about what was going on with his own life. How do I know that? Well, he was either late or he missed 272 classes in his first 3 years. 272. I think it would be wise to say that that's at least over a year's worth of courses that he missed. That's 272 days of class that he was either late for or that he didn't attend at all. In his first 3 years, I believe they said he took 22 courses. He only passed 3 of them. He had a GPA of only 0.13. Not 1.3, not 2.3, not 3.3, not 4.3, 0.13. That's less than the D average. He had an F average. I don't think I would be overestimating his situation by saying this dude did not try in school. I mean, if your GPA is that low, you just didn't try, man. You didn't try. You didn't care. Let me keep going. They even showed some of the classes he failed. I want to say in one of them classes, it was a personal fitness class. That dude had like a 50-something in that class. A 55 or a 50. How in the world you fail personal fitness? That really just confirmed in my mind you really didn't care about what was going on at your school, man. You didn't care about your situation at all. Personal fitness? And how you fail that? How you fail personal fitness? You didn't give a crap. I think in another PE oriented class, what he had like an 85 or a 90. He passed that, but not much else. It just showed me that he did not care about his own life. Let me say this. Also in that clip, even though for obvious reasons they covered up his identity, they didn't really want to show what he looked like or what his name was. You could tell if you really look at the video close, he had one of them earpieces in his ear where you can sort of talk to somebody, like a Bluetooth connection, or either you can sort of hook it up to a video game and do stuff through Bluetooth. He had a PlayStation controller in his hand. So I'm sitting there saying to myself, if he know how to do all that, he know how to get his work. And I want to say when he was sitting down on the bed, like he pulled out a phone out of his pocket. If this dude can do all that, he can go to school and pull a decent load at school. He can pull a decent load. But again, it seems like if he would have been making all these bad grades, he would have, if he really cared, he would have talked to his mother about that. Hey, Mom, I'm kind of struggling in school. I'm having a hard time. Is it possible for me to do such? You move to another class, like I just said, move to another school, or just, try to find a different level of learning support to help me get through these classes. He didn't try it. He didn't care. So, like I said, if you don't care about you, I can't care about you. And that's what I really saw in this story. He didn't care about himself. Like I said, when you in class, man, you know how you're doing. You have some idea of how you're either progressing or either you're digressing. Obviously, the first 3 years, he did nothing but digress, because this dude didn't do nothing in school. It was absolutely pitiful. Not how they kind of got on him. Let me really go in on this mother. She made some suspect statements in this video clip that really just had me shaking my head. She was talking about a few different things, like I said before, that spoke to societal ills about her personal situation and who she was pointing the finger at. We heard that she worked 3 jobs. We also heard that she had 3 children. We also heard her say it's the school system's fault. No, ma'am, you're one of the parties at fault, along with the school system. It just wasn't the school system's fault. It's your fault as well, in addition to your son's. In this day and age, there are various ways that a parent can check up on their kids' grades. Some school systems would allow for you to go online to like a little access portal where you can access their grades electronically without even, talking to the student or anything like that. Or you can get permission from the school, or, as long as you have some kind of password, you can see and check in on your child's grades whenever you get ready. It depends upon how advanced the school system is. You can see what their test scores are from week to week. You can see a progress report, or you can see their grades, of course, at the end of the semester. There are various ways you could check up on it. So that just shows her laziness as a parent. That if all she ever asks is that, hey, son, did you pass your class? Yeah, Ma, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Okay. You're just going to believe that? You don't want to know specifically how well he's doing since he's progressing through school? You don't want to know how well he's doing? You don't know exactly what his grades are. You're not going to check on him, even if you don't get an answer out of him. You're not going to check on that. I think it was mentioned that at one point or another, she was contacted about having a parent-teacher conference with one of his instructors, but it never happened. And the news story didn't really go too much deeper into that other than to say it just didn't happen. I'm like, if somebody contacts me about my child, about them having an issue in school, I'm going to be following up on that, whether they get back in contact with me or not. I'm going to be emailing people, calling people. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk. At the very least over the phone about the specific situation at hand. You don't just leave that be and don't think about it no more. Again, it sounds like she dropped the ball again. She didn't give a crap. I mentioned that she had 3 jobs. And you didn't see, wait for it, a father in this news story. You didn't see a boyfriend in this news story. You didn't see a male role model of any kind that could help lead him. I don't know whether he was just he didn't want to be in a video, or whether she just don't have a husband. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say she's not married. She don't have a male role model for this guy. She's a single parent. 3 jobs, 3 kids. She's a single parent. Anytime when you run into a situation like this, you kind of have to think to yourself, I wonder what that young man is having to deal with. Because he's probably having to shoulder a tougher load than what everybody is probably going to let you on to believe. He's probably having to deal with societal ills, the streets, dope, gangs, poverty, faster than most other kids because of his lack of stability. That's what this case shows with the mother. She has a lack of stability. If she don't care about checking up on him, and she's a single parent, and she just kind of taking his word for it. She has a lack of respect for education herself if she don't care. I mean, if she don't follow up. That's what this was showing me. She just did not care about what was going on with him. Like she leads on to believe. You know, she leads you on to believe that, well, I care about my son. She's rubbing on his hair at the beginning, talking about it's gonna be okay. She's trying to sound encouraging, but yet she didn't want to follow up on anything until it was too late for him. It shows her lack of girth, or her lack of emphasis on education herself. Part of being a parent is pushing your kids to do as best they can, so they can be not only equal to you, but better than you. You can see that one going on with him. You can see that one going on. Trust and believe you had another lazy woman who's just occupied working her job. And I'm going to even go out on another limb. It looks like she was probably letting this young man figure out life on his own. That's what it looks like what's going on here. He's raising himself. And you see how much he's failing. She's working 3 jobs. How much she really at home like that? He raising himself. That's what this young man doing. He raising himself. And so when I'm seeing this, I'm just, it's a combination of disgust, relief that I'm not in his shoes, and just confusion as to why he just don't motivate himself. And along with her, why she didn't motivate herself with being a better parent. As they kept interviewing the woman, I began to get more disturbed with her mentality. She also said, where were his mentors? Where were his mentors? I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, you a part of that group. And I was actually thinking that throughout the video about her. Man, where were you? Where were you? As one of his mentors. And I'm like, wow, she's even asking that question. That makes her look so much like, it makes her look so much less of a woman. It makes her look so much less than that of adult. She don't sound like an adult. She don't sound like a very mature person. And it makes her sound horrible as a parent. Because that's what you are. You're the mentor. You're the guide. You're the boss hog in the house. She said she just didn't care. She didn't care to think of that, rather. She didn't care to think about that concept. She was just talking without thinking about herself being in that role. And that just kind of really just kind of took my breath away, that she was that silly and that intellectually vacuous to just make a statement like that and leave it there. What happened to her? Where were the mentors? We looking at the video, we're thinking about you in that same regard. Like, where were you at? Where were you at? And I know I was looking at some of the comments in this video. There was several people that left comments. I know one lady claimed to be an educator in some of the comments. And she was like, man, some people, she said she dealt with parents that don't even care about how their child is doing in school. They're not even worried about their education until they get ready to graduate, because they're planning the graduation party without figuring out how they ever had to get to the point where they had to graduate. And I've heard that repetitively. A lot of parents don't too much care about what's going on with their kids' education until it's time for them to get ready to move on. That they're not really invested in them like that. So I think this lady is in that lane. She's thinking about the next phase of his life without being seriously involved with his formal education. She's relying on him to figure out and learn everything from himself from a scholastic environment. She's not really investing her time in that. She's basically looking at him saying, oh, it's all on you. I ain't got nothing to do with it. And I want to use other words with these various entities that I'm talking about. I want to use other colorful language with this stuff. But I'm trying to remain calm and articulate. I want to say other stuff. I want to use 4-letter words. I want to say stuff that's probably, a little bit crazy, but I'm trying to maintain my cool because I want to get my points across. Okay. After the mother, we're going to get on the school system. Despite this young man only passing 3 out of 22 classes in 3 years, he was being promoted from grade to grade. I don't know how much pull the teachers have in this school system, but I'm thinking there was some administrators or somebody at a higher level should have caught what was going on and said, this is not right. How in the world can he be passed along like this and nobody catches this? Nobody think there's nothing wrong with it. How could this happen? He was just being passed along. And there was even a more frightening aspect on a greater scale. After they mentioned that this guy had a 0.13 GPA, which is the F average, they looked at, and when I say they, this investigative group called the Baltimore Project looked at what was going on with his classmates who were in his grade. They said out of his class, he was ranked number 62 out of 120. 62. So there were 58 people that were ranked below him. That means that there were 58 other people in his high school class that were either at a 0.13 or below that. How does that happen? Willful ignorance is how that happened on the part of the school system. They were just passing this young guy along with the rest of his classmates, and we came to learn, just to probably get them out of their hair. When these parents, such as Miss Tiffany France, drop their kids off school, to me, they're expecting the school system to work a miracle without very much parental participation. They're expecting them to babysit them, to teach them thoroughly, and also to help them deal or take them away from some societal ills that they have to deal with at the house. They're expecting miracle work. And what Miss France and people like her are seeing is that doesn't happen. They're not working these miracles. They're showing how much they just don't give a crap about these kids, just like at times these parents like Miss France don't give a crap about these kids in terms of their education. If you don't care as a parent to check up on your child, see how they're doing, the school system ain't gonna care. They passed this guy along just to get him the heck up out of their hair. They were like, we don't want to deal with this dude. We don't deal with this guy. We can see he ain't trying, he don't care. Therefore, we don't care. I read, and I kind of looked through other people's videos in regards to this issue on YouTube and also looking at some articles. This school gets around $5.3 million a year in terms of funding. They got the money. They got the money to be funding this school. But it's just the educators not thinking much of the students they got to teach. They look at some of these young students, and I think they sort of have the same attitude, and they take on the same attitude as a student. If they don't care, we're just going to get our money and get on up out of here. That's what I believe was happening. And let me say this. To me, this kind of touches on elements of academic fraud. That's my opinion. I think that this should be investigated as academic fraud. How in the world can a school system do this and nothing happen to anyone? How can that happen? There's nobody going to prison. There's nobody catching a heavy fine. And maybe they have done that since this point. And maybe I need to look into that a little bit more. But to me, this is academic fraud. Because you're passing people who are not earning passing grades. And I think it's frighteningly sad. It gives kids the impression that, okay, I can sort of, just kind of give a half-ass effort in life, and I'll still get by. I'll still get people's favor. Even though I'm only giving a half-ass effort. I don't understand it. I really do not understand it. Because I guess I wasn't in a situation like that growing up. I had caring parents. And let me say, and then the key word, they're parents with the S on the end. Caring parents. I actually wanted to do as best I could in school. I want to try. I didn't want to just show up and then not care about nothing else that went on in school that day. I tried. If I had trouble in the class, I would seek the after school help. So it was in me to want to go seek out help. It was in me to want to openly converse with my parents about my academics. I wasn't trying to hide nothing. Because I knew how important that was at this key point of my life being in high school. So, I mean, I would like to see some people who were over that school system, whether they're educators or administrators, go to jail. I would like to see that as a result of this case. Ironically, as y'all saw, part of that school name was Savage. Was Savage. That was part of what their school name was. Ironically, that's what a lot of those kids might end up being if they showcase their attitude given the environment they're in. Single parenthood, poverty, not caring about school. They might end up being that word that's so popular in youthful slang these days. A savage. I thought that was ironic. That the last word in that school name was Savage. Or one of the last words. I think it was some kind of academy or something. But it was just epically sad, man, and fun at the same time to see this video, man. Cause this just don't make no sense to me. This is crazy. It just shows you that some people don't need to be parents, such as Miss Tiffany Friends. Some young men don't have any inspiration because they have a lack of guidance. And it just make that young kid just a dummy. Because you would think he would wake up at some point and go, well, let me start working hard right now so I don't have to repeat no grades. I can go ahead and just move on with my life. You know, it seems like it would have some kind of awakening in him. Or he would have just been thinking about that from the beginning. Let me just go ahead and get out of high school so I don't have to come back. Well, I guess that's all I have to say about this video. I know I was kind of long-winded in this video. She got J. Crew to You coming at you on this lovely evening here in early September. If you like the video, click the like button. If you want to subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next go round. Y'all have a good one.